It is about how to integrate testing into a development cycle. So we will be looking at two different ways how we can do that with help of the Uipath test suite. So let me share the big picture with you to make a start. So this is basically, let's say it's a map of the tools which might be involved when you are managing your development process and you're using automation for several purposes. So there is, on the left-hand side, you see a lot of popular tools. So there is not only ServiceNow around, so you can use Atlas and Jira. Some SAP customers might even want to use the sub-solution manager to manage the changes done to the system. And those tools are basically so popular, there is no reason to use something different. But usually when testing comes into play, you have two options. You either do the testing all manual, which is quite popular, and it's quite a good and viable way to do that, to make a start. But at a certain point, this gets inefficient, it's slow, it's error prone, and this is the point where you usually look into the market for a good automation solution for your testing. So Uipath has a lot of experience in the area of automation. So it's well known for their capabilities in the area of RPA. But those automation capabilities are also available to do automated testing. And I want to show you how this actually works and how the tools are wired together to make it possible. So first of all, the first important thing we already looked at is integration is key. There will be no test management solution or automation solution which will be capable of handling your entire development process, including testing. So a testing solution is worth nothing. I want to be that blunt. It's worth nothing when it not tightly integrates with a development life cycle. So that's why we integrate. So on the right-hand side, let me guide you through the tools you see on the right side. We have the Studio Pro. Studio Pro is, you will see it in a second, Uipath a solution to build automation. So it lets you automate 190 different technologies. So it's really comprehensive. So you can build the automation for RPA or for testing or even to test your RPA. We have the Uipath Orchestrator. This is the execution management. So this lets you schedule executions. It lets you define how the robots, which you see in the upper part, are used to run automation for RPA or for testing in parallel, all that stuff. And it is also an interface to your CI/CD pipeline. So testing for traditional development is very event-based, as you know. This is something, usually you run tests in a certain event. It's not so often that somebody clicks on the run test button. It's more that kind of approach. So we support all the popular solutions from the market to trigger off execution on the orchestrator. So this is what Orchestrator does. The Orchestrator does another important thing. It collects all the results from the test executions from the robots. So, but the big question when we talk about testing and how to manage testing is, how do we get those results on the tools on the left side? So you're usually using a defect management solution. You will be using some kind of an agile planning solution, whatever you use. So this is an important challenge we have to address somehow. And the second thing is, where do you define your tests? So Studio Orchestrator, those are not the right tools to define what tests you are actually in need of when you take a look at your development process and your the functionality in there. So usually you use a tool like ServiceNow or Jira to define your requirements. So in order to glue that together or to wire that together, we built a Test Manager Hub. The Test Manager Hub is basically a backend service. It's a service that runs on your server and works in the background. It does nothing but exchanging information from the tools on the left side with information from the tools on the right side. So on the one hand, it tells the right side which tests and requirements are defined on the left side, and once there are some test results available, it uploads those results to the left side. I will show you in a second. Okay, so how does integration of testing in your development process basically work? So we defined two patterns which are possible with the solution we built for ServiceNow. So for today's webinar, we will be focusing on ServiceNow, which is one of the newest members in our connector family. So let's take a look how this works. So this is the so-called pattern one. Some people refer to it as the ALM pattern. What is it good for? So this is the right pattern you should follow in case you need a test management solution. So you have everything in place. You use ServiceNow for your HR planning and you manage your defects in ServiceNow, but you want to add testing at all. So you need a test management solution and you need a solution for automation. In that case, you use ServiceNow. We have the integration connector to ServiceNow for the Test Manager Hub. In addition to the Test Manager Hub, we provide a web application which is hosted through the Test Manager Hub. It is in this pattern your test management solution. I will show you in a second. You can then use Studio Pro in order to create the automation for your tests, and you can orchestrate the execution with Orchestrator. So this sounds quite easy. I will show you that now. So let's take a look at the demo. So let me just, so here we have ServiceNow. We are talking about managing our development process or even your RPA process in ServiceNow in HL development. Okay, I guess my session expired. No, I was wrong. So here we go. So you use HL development. HL development, the HL planning component of ServiceNow to manage your testing. So this is the test manager, basically, which is this web application we host out of the Test Management Hub to manage all your testing. Here we have Orchestrator. Here we go. This is Orchestrator. This is the planning component to orchestrate your execution. And we have Uipath Studio here. But let's start step by step. So what are we going to do here? So basically, we want to define a capability. So let's say we create a story in our HR development process. Let's say we create a story about the creation of several bank accounts. So we have a virtual bank application which we use for demoing. It's not a real bank, unfortunately. So we can create any kind of account there. So let's say we have a user story which is about creating and applying for accounts. So let's create that story. We could add some description here and any other information, but importantly, this is our story here, create account. In order to create tests, so the next step we want to take is we want to create tests for this create account capability. So let's say the developers have finished work on the create account functionality. Let's switch to the test manager and let's see what we can do. First of all, since the integration is already configured here, you can see in the requirements section of Test Manager, you will see the create account requirement popping up. So how it comes that it pops up here? It is the integration we defined with ServiceNow. So they are linked together. Whenever I create a story or any kind of artifact that defines a capability in ServiceNow Agile development, this requirement will show up here in the requirements section. In order to find the right artifact in ServiceNow, we find a little link symbol here right beside the name. This allows you to jump directly into your ServiceNow instance and open this requirement. So here it is. Again, I closed that because we already have it open here. So let's add a test here. Let's say we want to create a checking account. Let's open the task menu and create a test case. We create a checking account. I can add a version here. I can add some description here. This is just to explain a little bit. It allows us even to do a little bit of markup with Markdown or such things like that. A very powerful feature, by the way, is labels. We can add any kind of labels. It's just a tag I can put here. And let's say I say this is an account label, and I want to have that on the smoke test as well. Go here, a smoke test. Test case. So let's create it. And we created a checking account test case here assigned to this requirement. I have certain test cases already here. This is the one we just created. When I open it here, I can see it has all the labels we assigned. It has the version. It has some description here. We don't have any results yet because, of course, we did not execute it so far. So we want to automate this test case. I could add manual steps, by the way, if I want to start right away in a manual process. But in this webinar, we want to focus on the automation part. But a test case can be manual and automated at the same time here in your Uipath Test Manager, which is quite convenient because you don't need to build all the automation up front. You can start manually, which is easier usually, and then one by one add the automation. Let's focus on the automation here. So at the moment, we have no automation attached to this test case. So like I explained in the beginning, we need to use Uipath Studio. So this is Uipath Studio. This is a rich client, of course, because it allows you to automate a lot of technologies, a lot of UI technologies like .NET applications, web applications, stuff like that. So I prepared an automation already. So I have a folder here. Let's say create checking account. This is our test case we have here in the test manager. We have the same test case here. It is automated. I checked it before. It works quite nicely. It will not fail. It will successfully create a checking account in our UiBank web application. So next thing I need to do is I need to tell my test case in Test Manager, the one you see up here, that this automation belongs to him. So it's easy. I just open it in my studio. I select link to test from the Test Manager menu item. It's configured to already select the correct project on my Test Manager instance. So I just search for my test case. GSN9 is the key. Create checking account. I select and hit OK. So if I refresh that now here, you will immediately see that I have a different information here. Now it tells me which project in Uipath Studio, so that's the Uibank demo ServiceNow project, and the name of the test case is create checking account. If I want to be absolutely sure if this linkage is correct, I can also open it here and select open test from the menu, and you will see it will open the test here in Test Manager. So those two are linked now. Another convenient thing is you will see a label automatically created. This is an automated test case. If I add a manual step here, which I could easily do, you would immediately see it has also a manual label. So like I said, they can be both at the same time. So, but now let's start the fun. We want to execute this test case and we want to see the results, of course. So what we need to do here is we need to publish this automation project to Orchestrator. Orchestrator, the tool we use to orchestrate the execution. I need to publish it now. This has been successfully done now. So Orchestrator now knows about the linkage of this automation with the corresponding test case in my test manager. So let's jump into the Orchestrator and let's see what we have here. So this is the Orchestrator, a very powerful tool you use to orchestrate your RPA and your testing. But let's take a look at the testing here. So basically, I am able to create test sets here. I can see my test cases here. Here they are quite a lot, so we do a lot of demoing with that instance. So they are quite extensive here. Since we published it right now, let's see if we have the create checking account. Create checking account. What you can see here, there are several flavors of it because my colleagues and me, we are demoing a lot with this. So the one we just automated is this one, the Uibank ServiceNow. This is from the project Uibank ServiceNow. So basically, these are the test cases, and I can compile them into test sets here. So I already created a smoke test set. Let's see what's in here. So this is the project we selected. And let's just, I already have some test cases here. And I want to add the one we just automated, the create checking account here. So let's see. And now, actually, we are going to run that. So what happens now is if I click run here, the tests will be executed. I configure them to use the robot on my local machine. So this is a web application. This runs on the server, but it is configured to use the robot on my laptop here. So let's give it a shot. Let's start the smoke test. So a lot of those tests are dummy tests. They don't do actually a lot of things. The reason is it would take too long here. I let some fail, most of them compare just a couple of numbers. The last one, the create checking account, this actually opens our Uibank application. It logs into that application and it creates this account. So you see 1 is failed and 3 are passed here. Let's see how this is presented in our test manager. So in order to see that, let's check to the test results section. And what you can see here is actually, this is the execution we just ran a couple of seconds ago. You might be wondering why only 2 tests. The simple reason is that only 2 tests were known in the test manager here. The other tests were not known in test manager. I would need to link them. I just forgot to do that, but that's totally fine. We have our create checking account automation we just designed. We have another test case, and this is fine. So what can I see here? I can manage all my testing here. The reporting date, actually, this is an important thing. If you have very long test runs which run overnight, you might have some tests which are executed before midnight, others are executed after midnight. So what you actually want to do here is you want to assign them to a certain date. So to which date is this counting towards? So let's take a look. Let's take a look and create checking account. Actually, here you see a comprehensive overview. These are the steps that have been done here. Since the test case is passed, there is no point in creating a defect out of that. So this is basically fine. There has no screenshot been created. We only do that in case of a failure. At least at the moment it is configured like that. So just for fun, let's check what happens if the test case fails. So what we actually do is we have 2 verifications here. One is we verify that the success message in the end is the correct one, and we verify that an account with the particular name exists. So let's just let it fail. Let's say put some characters in here. So this is not the message that is being displayed. Let's publish it again and let it fail. Okay, next try. We go to Orchestrator. Again, we select our test sets. The smoke test 1. Let's let it run. And we can, by the way, already switch back to test manager here. And the test results, you will see that this is actually in a running state here. It's already, you can monitor it. Okay, you shouldn't do that because this is a web application. So again, our test case is running here. We verify here for the right one. It closes the browser window. So let's go for the test results here. And what you can see here, that one of the test case create checking account failed. So this was on purpose. Verification failed. This is the indication at which point it failed. So what I usually want to do now here is I want to create a defect in my defect management system, which I usually use. So in order to do that, by the way, oh, just forgot it almost. We have created a screenshot here as well. In case of a failure, usually we create a screenshot. You can configure it to also create a screenshot if the result is passed, but usually you don't want to do that because what's the point in creating a screenshot of the past test case? Anyway, let's create a defect. It's fairly easy. The project is configured to use the defect management here in ServiceNow. In order to manage the defect. So I open the task menu and just click the create defect button, and you see what happens. A defect has been created. So you can see the link here. Let's click the link and let's see what's in here. So basically what we have here, we have the same information like we found here. So the defect basically consists of a comprehensive list of all the steps that have been done, the verification that failed, and it also contains the screenshot here. So this is how it works. One important thing in order to track the problems you found through your testing, it also is related to the user story which this test case is assigned to. So this is an important information. You remember, we had that requirement here, create account. The test case is assigned here, and this information is translated during the defect creation, and it is added here as as a link related story, and so you can monitor the status of all your problems within ServiceNow. So this is the first pattern. So what we did, to wrap it up, we created a user story in agile development in ServiceNow. We assigned a test to it in Test Manager. We assigned an automation to the test. We configured it to run in the test set, and we watched what the result was in the Test Manager, and we created a defect back in our defect management system, and it has the relation to our story like we did before. So this is it about the pattern number one. Pattern number one is a quite common pattern for development. It's the most common pattern. So this is the way how we think a test management solution should integrate with an agile development planning component. So let's get back to our slide deck and let's see what else we have. So we have the pattern 2. Pattern 2 is a pattern which is a little bit unusual maybe, but it makes a lot of sense in certain scenarios. So this is the right pattern for you. So this is suitable for you if you already have a test management solution in place. So in ServiceNow, you can use the test manager, the test management component there to manage your testing. So it is not unlikely you do that because you might use the agile development component and you already do manual testing. So what's with that pattern? In that case, we do the following. We don't want to convince anybody to use the web application test manager to manage your testing when you already have a test management solution in place. So just to pick you up at the point where you are, you have a test management solution in place and you might want to add automation and you want to use the Uipath automation for it and the pristine capabilities of Orchestrator with all the CI/CD triggering of executions. So how does this hook into it? So basically you can continue to work like you did before. The only thing we do for you is we let you assign automation in Studio Pro to your ServiceNow test cases. So actively as a user, you will not be using the Test Manager web application. I will show you in a second how this works. So basically you will be able to assign the automation from Studio Pro directly to your test cases in ServiceNow. A similar thing is going to happen if you execute tests in Orchestrator. The moment you have assigned an automation to a test in ServiceNow, all the results produced through Orchestrator will show up in ServiceNow and will be assigned to that test in ServiceNow. I'm going to show you in a second. So this is the right solution for you if you already have test management from ServiceNow in place to manage your testing. So let me show you how this works. Again, we are back in ServiceNow, and so we have test management 2.0. Let's take a look at the tests here. At the moment, I just have one test here. I just created it to check if everything is working okay. So, but let's start from the beginning. Let's say I have done some user stories and stuff like that, and at a certain point, I have a test I want to create. So let's just add a test here, and let's create a different kind of account. Let's create a savings account. Let's go. So in the end, the create savings account, I could add some manual steps here. No, absolutely not a problem. But I want to automate this test. So let's directly jump into Studio. So Uipath Studio, and I have already prepared a test case here. So it's a similar one like the one before. It just creates a different kind of account as the savings account. And let's see what happens if I select link to test. Create a savings account. So here we have it. What's the magic here? So in the end, what we did here is the Test Manager Hub, the background service I've been explaining in the very beginning, detected that we created a test case in ServiceNow and provides it here for the selection to assign an automation to it. So let's click OK. Let's give it a couple of seconds to do the assignment in the background. And so from that moment on, my test is assigned to my ServiceNow test case. Let's refresh that view and let's see what actually we can see here. So you can see the automation data field here. It's a similar one we just saw in the test manager. So it tells us in Studio Pro what's the name of the project this test case is automated in and the name of the test case. So this is what happened when we assigned it from Studio. So again, we made this assignment. We need to go back to Studio and publish that. So we need to tell our orchestrator instance that this assignment exists now. So we published it. And now this test case is known in orchestrator. Let's see if this holds true. So here we go. Let's check back to our test cases. Savings account. Let's see. So you haven't demo service now. This is the one we've been talking about. Last modified a few seconds ago. This is when we published it, but we didn't really. So I created it 2 hours ago. That's all fine. Let's add it to our smoke test set. So we select the project from Studio, Uipath Demo Service now. We go to the next one, select our test case, create savings account, and hit save. And the magic is already done. So I think we should execute now. Let's see how this works. So execution is running like we did before. The create checking account will still fail. Create savings account will pass because it's built that way. So let's see, this is the create checking account. The one that will fail. So, and the next one, create savings account, should look quite similar. Oh, it selected the wrong account, but this was my mistake. Let's say it did not happen. So here it passed. So let's see what of all that do we see in ServiceNow. We could jump directly to the result, but I want to show you how this looks like. That's of course wrong. We are looking for the smoke test. ServiceNow smoke test. It's this one. So we created a test execution suite. Since, and this is very important, the test execution suite we create only holds results for the test cases which are known here within ServiceNow. So for some reason, I don't see anything here. This is the test execution suite. So I've done something wrong. I'm absolutely sure it is my mistake. Let's walk to that Here we go. So the create savings account. The create savings account basically has one test version. So in ServiceNow, you are able to execute a version of a test case, and we have one test result here. When we open that test result here, we basically can see that it passed. So in this case, we have an attachment here. ServiceNow does not allow us to do a lot of formatted information here to provide a nice formatted list. So what we actually did here is, for the first version, we just added a plain text file here with the information about the assertions that have been done. But since this is, let's say, not very exciting because this is a past test, let's manipulate it a little bit and let it fail. So basically, what we need to do is, again, we need to add something here. Let's just add some characters here and let that fail. So let's save and publish it. And let's execute it again. So let's go to Orchestrator and let's execute our test set smoke test again. By the way, while this is executing, a little bit of an information here. Of course, you will be able to see all the results also in the test manager. It even has some additional information which is quite technical. So it has a lot of information, everything which is created by the robots that execute is stored in the orchestrator. So you might want to check back to Orchestrator if you think you need some more technical information about a particular failure. So you can see the create savings account now has failed here, and let's check back to the test case and see this is the version we executed, and we can see we now have a failed result here as well. In addition to the assertions, we see that the result is failed, and we, in addition, have a screenshot. This is the one that was created by the orchestrator to indicate what in particular failed, and we also have the assertions text file here. So this is basically how it is handled. So important about this is, in that case, you saw, you noticed it, I did not use the web application for Test Manager, but it is important that the Test Manager hub is running in the background. It does all the matching, exchanging the information about what has been automated and which results are available and stuff like that, and uploading all the information from the robots. So that's basically it. This is what I wanted to share with you. And I think it's the right time to ask if there are some questions. So let's check. How to configure. Yeah, let me show you. I can give you a short a glimpse of how this actually works. So basically, there are two things you need. You need to configure it on the Test Manager hub, and you need to configure it on ServiceNow, of course. So let's start with the Test Manager hub. So as an administrator, I'm an administrative user. Here I can access the project settings here. And I have defined a connection here. So you can select to add a connection here from the new connection menu. And this is the connection I created. So the things I need to provide here is the URL to my ServiceNow instance. I need to provide the user I want to use for ServiceNow to log in there. An important thing is which artifact type to use in ServiceNow to create a defect. So you might configure a different artifact type to represent the defect. So you can select it. So if I go to edit here, at the moment we only have defect here, so that's the only one I can select. Very important here, you have an API key. This API key authorizes ServiceNow to access the test manager. So this is for the other direction. So in order to configure that in ServiceNow, you just need to install an app. This app can be retrieved from the ServiceNow store. And this app lets you configure the configuration. Here you go. So basically, this is the URL to the test manager here. This is this one. You need to enter the API key, and here you go. So that's it. Basically, this is the important information. Actually, I don't know what's the ServiceNow integration user for test manager. Not sure about that one. But anyway, so this is what you need to configure, and you are good to go. Other questions? What about detailed validations? So yeah, validations can be quite complex. Yeah. So usually in Test Manager, if you use the pattern 1, in Test Manager, you have quite comprehensive information about validations. We are a little bit limited at the moment what we can enter to the test result in ServiceNow, but we are working on improving that a little bit. At the moment, you just see assertions. So to make it clear, whenever you use a verify operation or anything from the test automation package in Uipath Studio, this is signified as it's labeled as a verification, and this one you will see in the ServiceNow. If, like I explained, want to see more details, jump into the orchestrator and take a look there. With ServiceNow integration, can we also work with incident and change management, as well as automate ticket creation through Studio X? So directly from Studio, no. At the moment, the only thing we provide is you can create a defect object in ServiceNow. You might be able to process it further to any kind of change management in ServiceNow, but we leave that up to you. So at the moment, we either upload the results and you can start from there, your change management, or the results, or if you use the pattern 1, you'll be able to create a defect and start from there. Any other questions? Feel free to ask me anything. So one thing, if you're interested in is you might have seen the little the YouTube links here. So we have videos on YouTube about those integrations. I guess there will be a recording for this webinar as well. So if you're interested in having some more information, watch the videos or just you can ask on the forum, whatever you prefer to get some additional information.
You can also unmute yourself and ask any question. There is a question, any idea when such an integration with HP ALM is planned?
At the moment, it is not planned to have an integration with HP ALM, but we will provide capabilities to build custom integrations, and this will cover also capabilities of HP ALM. Any details about that will follow within the next couple of months. No, this is not possible. So it is not possible to directly create an incident from Orchestrator in ServiceNow.
But you can let the robot do it.
That's, of course, what you always can do. You can build a robot doing that. Yes, sure. Any other questions? So, yeah, like I said, if some additional questions come up, feel free to go in our forum, ask there. We are happy to answer whatever we can and help you with whatever you want to do, or whatever you want to further understand.
And we will add the recording on the same event page, so you can always go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any other question later, if you want, or any feedback, you can always connect with me over LinkedIn as well.
Okay. So
if you don't have any question or any feedback, if you guys want to share anything, feel free to do that.
So thanks, Lynette. Yes, so this is the question. There is an activity pack for ServiceNow, by the way, which lets you create incidents in ServiceNow. So in the chat window, you find the link.
I think there are no further questions. So probably we can wrap it up early.
Yes.
Thanks, Bernard. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining the call. And yeah, stay updated, and you can join our global chapter. So because we have a lot of sessions coming up. Yeah. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining the call. Have a great evening, morning. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.